the CIA helped steal the Venezuela elections in 2020. For who? Maduro. I remember I did a live in which I believe it was called RV. Wasn't that long ago? No. Revaluation of currency worldwide has to occur before NESARA and GESARA is rolled out. You cannot have NESARA, GESARA, debt forgiveness, precious metal-backed currencies, all this stuff. You can't have that until all currencies are revalued so that they reflect upon one another. In that live that I did, I specifically stated that I had intel that the revaluation of currency would be done by the end of 2025, which was last week. Have we heard about the revaluation? No, we have not. So everyone's like, I'm disappointed in you, Phil. Got a couple messages to that quality. There was one country out of the entire world that had not revalued their currency, and that was the holdup. There were rumors and speculation that they finally had done it. They still had not, despite all those rumors and despite all of that. Do you know who that one country was, by the way? Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess? Venezuela? Nope. Who's the one country that had not revalued their currencies? Iraq. The Iraqi dinar. So why were all of these people that are here called Iraqi dinar speculators, why are all those people buying dinar? Why hasn't Iraq revalued their currency when everyone else in the world, Maduro, captured, president of Venezuela? Are you seeing it? What do you think happened to $17.3 trillion worth of oil reserves in Venezuela the second Maduro was out of power? Where do you think that oil went? You think it came to the United States? We don't need it. We have deals in place. We have a lot of our own oil. $17 trillion worth of oil. Who wanted it? How is it connected to Maduro? Iraq wanted it. Why? Because Iraq is sixth in the world in terms of holders and producers of oil. They wanted to be first. Is it petty? A little bit. Holding up the world's salvation for NESARA, GESARA for their own GDP benefits. But honestly, that's how they survive. And they wanted assurances based on what they've been through before with the cabal and George Bush II and George Bush I attacking them and taking their shit. Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Get the hell out of here. You went in and you killed citizens and you stole their oil. That's what you did. It was an Iraqi freedom. Crazy. Why are we bombing Iraq? For what? What did they do? We could just say someone's a dictator now and just kill them, bomb their country and kill their citizens and take their GDP. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. So Iraq wanted assurances before they revalued. What assurances did they want? Well, they wanted the Venezuela oil. By the way, it's not taking Maduro out of power as the media is portraying it to be. It's not that. It's a negotiated surrender in which Maduro is fully cooperating with the World Alliance. Hence his red folder. All making sense now? Putin, Trump, Xi, Maduro. Is Maduro part of the big three leaders? No. But Maduro has a lot of intel from that country. He's what we called controlled opposition. Maduro was put there through election fraud. And he quickly became, instead of an enemy, an asset. How is he an asset? First of all, he's the president of a country that has $17.3 trillion and 303 billion barrels of oil. And what stands in the way of revaluation and NESARA, GESARA for the world? Iraq. And what's Iraq want? Oil. Wow, well, we got an asset there. So, makes sense, right? Yeah. Now you're seeing why the Maduro capture was so important. But why else was it important? Okay, so Iraq got its oil. Now we could revalue. Great. What else? Is that it, Phil? That's your big intel? No. That's one of the parts of the intel, but it's not the big intel. This one from Alex Vassa. Don't know who that is. But they said it and I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's actually absolutely correct. They go on to say, great movie, everything is scripted. China and Russia just flew out all of Venezuela's silver out of the country. How convenient. Well, let me tell you something. I saw the post, and I actually knew that beforehand, and the post is 100% right. That is exactly what happened, and let me tell you why. Venezuela had an enormous amount of silver. That silver that was taken from Venezuela is actually proof that the valuation and the suppression of silver has occurred. Like, it proves fraud in the precious metals market. That's one aspect. Fraud is, there can't be that much silver. There can't be, because they say that there's not in COMEX. And the valuation of silver is determined by the scarcity of it versus the abundance of it. So if it's more abundant than what they're saying, then the valuation is wrong. And it's extremely interesting that the silver went to China and Russia. The United States, we don't need it. We're good. We got what was in the Vatican. We got what was in the royal compound. We got a lot of precious metal. A lot. Why is precious metal important, though? Like, why do we need it in the United States? Why does Russia need it? Why does China need it? Let's skip over the fact that the amount that was there in Venezuela proves precious metal price manipulation. Why is that good for us? Because the price is going to freaking go through the roof. It already has to a small extent. And now you're starting to see why it has. Because this information started to become public in higher circles about the silver, about, the election fraud, about the instability coming to what's being reported by the mainstream media and what's actually happening. Trump's now saying that, here we go again with the mainstream media. They're not even reporting the success of the tariffs. So we just took in $600 billion. And they're not even telling you about it. He's right. They're not. But that's fine. Who gives a shit? We don't care about the media. The media doesn't control the narrative anymore. The important part about that silver is not only that it exists, and because it exists, the valuations for precious metals are completely misconstrued and proves fraud, but it also proves who was perpetrating the fraud in regards to precious metals. And guess what? There's a lot of names there. A lot. Big names. Regarding the upcoming margin calls that the banks are going to owe this coming weekend. As of right now, Bank of America is going to need $3.75 billion in a margin call this weekend. Sounds like a lot, right? Now, for a big bank, it's a lot. Is it a real lot? Yeah. Will it cripple them? No, but that's just this week. Citigroup has a $12 $1.75 billion margin call that they owe this weekend because of their position on silver shorts. They have to, if they don't write those checks, they get liquidated. Boo-hoo. I'm so sad. I'm sad about that. I am. I'm going to cry later. A lot. Why are you going to do it now? Feels good. Feels good. That's my intel. I think it was some pretty good intel. I'm dying to do this live. It's probably my favorite live of all time because of the content and because the one event triggers what, 6 different events. The capturing of Maduro in Venezuela triggers all those events. Iraqi dinar revaluation, NESARA, GESARA, precious metal, fortifying of China, Russia, 2020 election, fraud, and most likely reversal. How do you think Trump's going to get a new term? A third term? If he wants one. Will he need one? We don't know yet. I don't even know if he's running yet, but we don't know if he's in it. But here's the thing. If that election was fraudulent, then Trump legally will get to run again. You wonder why the Supreme Court case regarding all of the senators, that the Brunson brothers, that all the senators that are corrupt and took part in the election fraud, you wonder why that has just kind of lingered around for so long. It just seems like it won't go away. And we're like, well, we don't want it to go away, so it's fine. So we just kind of let it there. We're like, well, what's going on with the Brunsons? Well, now you know why it's kind of hung out until now. We have literally everything that there is that's needed to prove the election fraud. Now, we've had that for a long time, but now it's becoming public. This was the event to introduce it to the public. We have Maduro. He's talking. Here's what he's saying. Here's the evidence. Overturn that election now. Arrest people now. That's the other part of it. Like, we're talking about Iraq and dinar and GESARA and all that good stuff, the election fraud, but what about massive arrests for the people that took part in this? How about that? This is also an indirect trigger of that. That's my intel for tonight. So not only do you have the 2020 election and all of its proof accounted for with the capture of Maduro, you also have Iraq being satisfied in what they are asking for in order to revalue their currency, their dinar. They now are the recipients of 303 billion barrels of oil. The most in the world. The number 1 leader in the world, Venezuela, and the number 6 leader in the world, Iraq, are combining. Iraq controls the oil supply, and that's what they wanted. They wanted assurances. They got it. They'll now, if they haven't already, and I don't have that information, but I believe that they have, they will now revalue their currency. Revaluating their currency will allow NESARA, GESARA. Oh, but that's not all. Venezuela also had an enormous amount of silver that was previously calculated. And you guys are all saying, well, you're probably thinking, sorry about that. You're probably thinking, oh, well, if they found an undocumented amount of silver that we didn't know was there, won't that tip the silver supply higher, causing the price of silver to go down? Hold on a minute. I never said that we didn't know the silver was there. I just said that there was a huge amount of it. But what was documented as Venezuela holding was not right. They said that they had way more silver than what was actually there. What was actually there was a huge amount, but nowhere near what they said that they had. What they said that they had was times a million. That's what kept the price of silver so suppressed. One of the reasons, and there's going to be many more that come out over the months ahead. But one of the reasons why that price was suppressed is because the fraudulent reporting from Venezuela. That was not what they had. Now, the amount that they did have was extremely significant to our cause. And I'll tell you what, they're not the only country that's misreporting what they have in their vaults. The United States is another one. But I have a feeling that the leader of the United States isn't going to let that go on for too much longer anyway. You see how it's all lining up so perfectly? Iraq gets what they want. Revaluation occurs. Trump starts talking about election fraud. Maduro, who has proof of election fraud because, well, he was installed to be election fraud, and the systems that the CIA was operating in his country, he has those records. So why don't we stage fentanyl boats coming off the coast of Venezuela into the United States? Let's bomb those. Were there people on them? Probably not. Were there actually drug boats going from Venezuela? Possibly. Did we bomb boats with drones? Yeah, of course we did. We all saw the video, right? Not that video can't be manipulated, but was that why we went to get Maduro? Or was it because of all the other very important reasons?